Hi guys, so today we are going to be doing CHING number 93. We're just keep creeping on up there. So we're going to start in with where I left off. The first thing that I have was a vintage frosty root beer thermometer. This was a great advertising piece for frosty root beer, and typically you know, the older thermometer advertising type pieces can sell really well. Eric and I found this piece at an auction. I can't remember exactly what I paid for it now. Like I say, when I do these cha-chings, they are back there a little ways. I'm still trying to get caught up. But that did sell for $379.99. So that was a really good sale. Next item also came from an auction. This was for a vintage like Art Deco style soap dish. It looked like a naked lady in a bathtub. I had never seen anything like this before. I thought it was really cool. I was just like naturally drawn to it. Again, I can't remember exactly what I paid, but I will try, if I can, to go back. It's going to be a little time consuming to go back and look at my haul videos, but I know a lot of people like to know exactly what I paid for items. But that did sell for $69.99. Next item also came from an auction. I love, ooh! Amelia sees herself in my mirror. She's growling at her reflection in the mirror. Girl, it's okay. It's just you. Anyway, this was, I was saying, see, you got me distracted, girl. Love sourcing at auctions. Definitely one of my favorite places to source, just because there's always so much cool stuff there. And you know there's cool stuff there. So this was a vintage German wooden incense smoker. This one was of a wine merchant that sold for $124.99. Again, I'm not exactly sure what I paid for it. This next item came from a yard sale, and I do remember what I paid for it. This was for an Empoli green genie bottle. I got this at a yard sale. I paid $8 for it, and that sold for $99.99. Next item also came from an auction. This one was for a vintage Lucite purse. The old like plastic Lucite purses, some of them can sell really well. This one sold for $99.99. I remember I did pay up for that. I do feel like I paid about $60 for that at the auction. Next item also came from an auction. This was for a really large Limoges dresser box is what they were called. Just like a really oversized trinket box kind of thing. Like I said, I got that at an auction. It sold for $89.99. And this is for a cloth teak Santa Claus, and he was like a bowling Santa. He had his bowling ball and everything. That sold for $29.99. I sold a pair of black earrings. These were marked 925. These came from like a jewelry, either a jewelry tray that I wanted at an auction or potentially a yard sale. I can't remember. I had gotten like a big shoebox full of jewelry. It might have came from that. I paid $5 for it at a yard sale, and those earrings sold for $9.99. I sold that really large cluster of Lucite grapes. I got that at a yard sale for $1, and those sold for $62. So that was a really great find. I sold another Limoges item. This one was called a lemon server. That sold for $29.99, and that did come from an auction. I also sold a bottle of Avon Be Spontaneous perfume for $12.99. That did come from an auction, and I paid about $1 for that. I also sold a pair of Steve Madden slip-on style shoes. These were like a metallic silver color. I got these at a yard sale, and I think I did pay about $3 for those, and they sold for $19.99. I sold a bottle of vintage perfume called Forever Crystal for $39.99. That did come from an estate sale, and I paid $1 for that. This next item was for a vintage Barbie doll outfit. I do believe this was kind of like a handmade vintage Barbie outfit. Not actually, it didn't have like a Barbie tag or anything inside of it. That sold for $9.99, and that came from a large Barbie case that was full of vintage Barbie clothes that I won at an auction. So I have sold a lot of stuff from that case, and I still have a lot of stuff to list from it. Next item I sold was a Chanel Coco Mademoiselle perfume. That sold for $129.99, and that did come from a tray of beauty items that I won at an auction. I also sold a mini bottle of Christian Dior Fahrenheit. This was men's cologne. That sold for $25.99. And that did come from an auction as well, where I had won a bunch of vintage miniature perfumes. Next item also came from an auction. This was for a set of Moser or Mosser. It was a green opalescent pitcher with matching glasses. Those sold for $149.99. I sold a bottle of Avon Fire Me Up perfume. This did go to a subscriber named Jody. This sold for $29.99. That came from an auction, and again about $1 for that one. Also sold a Harley Davidson jacket for $54.99, and that actually came from a thrift store, and I feel like I paid about $15 for that. Next item also came from an auction, and this was for a beautiful coffee or tea set. This was by a company called Lemieux, if I am pronouncing that correctly. That sold for $299.99, so that was also a good sale. Next we have a mini Boyd's Bear. This one had a little sweater on it that said Warm Winter Wishes. That sold for $22.99, and that probably came from a yard sale, and $1 or less for that. I sold a pair of PROENZA SCHOULER sandals. I got these at a yard sale for $5. I couldn't believe it. I sold those for $199.99. That was just like an amazing find. Never in a million years did I think I was gonna roll up to a yard sale and find a pair of those shoes for $5. It was just, sometimes my mind is blown when I go out sourcing. So next we have another vintage Forever Crystal perfume. Again, this one sold for $29.99. I do think it was a slightly smaller size than the other one that sold, and I also paid $1 for that at the estate sale. I sold a Meaningful Beauty by Cindy Crawford Day Cream for $19.99. This did come out of a tray from an auction that I won. Next item did go to a subscriber named Dawn. This was for a Tinkerbell desk lamp that sold for $49.99. That did come from a yard sale, and I think we paid about $5 for it, maybe $5 to $7 for it. I also sold a clear ribbed fairy lamp by HOMCO that sold for $19.99. And I think that one actually might have come from the auction where I purchased like all those fairy lamps. Or it could have come from a yard sale. I can't remember. Next item also went to a subscriber. This one went to Lori. It was a Vera Bradley ID coin purse that sold for $4.99. That did come from a yard sale, and it was in a box of some stuff that I purchased for $5. Next item was a Boyd's Trinket box of a little watering can that sold for $15.99, and that did come from a yard sale, and I'd say we paid about $1 for it. I sold a Torrid Swiss Dot kind of like cover-up robe type thing that sold for $39.99, and that also came from a yard sale. I say I paid $3 to $5 for that. I also sold a set of 2 HOMCO cubist style fairy lamps. These were also clear. It was for a set of 2. Those sold for $33.99, and those either came from the auction where I won the fairy lamps or a yard sale. Sometimes I pick up the clear fairy lamps at yard sales and sometimes I don't. It depends on my mood. I'm telling you guys, sometimes like when I am out sourcing, it just depends on my mood as to whether or not I pick something up, and that's that. Like, I don't know, I'm weird like that. It's not just an automatic, oh, I've sold this before, I'm going to buy it. It's how long did this take to sell? I don't know if I want to be holding on to it for a while again, and yada yada yada. So all depends on my mood. Next item actually sold for a best offer. So what you see in the picture isn't what it actually sold for. This was for an Order of the Moose band jacket. This came from an auction. It was just thrown in with something else I won, and I just decided to list it, and lo and behold, it sold for $25.99. I can't even tell you what it was thrown in with when I, you know, purchased it at the auction, but definitely just that was a free $25 in my opinion. Next item we have is a vintage Mary Mushroom oven mitt. That sold for $12.99, and I got that at a yard sale. I'd say I paid 10 cents or a quarter for it. I sold an Alex and Ani bracelet for $17.99. That came from a yard sale, and I'd say I paid about $1 to $2 for that. Next item was a Penjoy Utz die-cast truck that sold for $29.99, and that came from an auction. I sold, these were so cute. This was for a set of 2 vintage, they were called Match Pack Playful Pets. These little like Easter themed little bean, tiny little bean filled toys. So super cute. They look like they were in like a matchstick holder type of box. Those sold for $19.99, and they did come from an auction. It was like a large tote just full of stuff. Eric won for $1. I sold a really old set. These were called Richter building blocks. I won these at an auction. They sold for $59.99. Next item to go to a subscriber named Margaret. This was for a buyer's choice doll of Marley's Ghost. That sold for $69.99, and that did come from an auction. I still have like a bunch of buyer's choice dolls to list. They're all Christmas themed, so I was kind of just holding off. Typically, you know, I will list seasonal stuff all year long. Christmas, Halloween, you name it. Any time of the year, I'll list it, and you know, stuff sells all year long. But for whatever reason, I just haven't really like started listing all of my buyer's choice. So I need to get on to that because Christmas will be here before you know it. I sold an Avon, Mark by Avon Hollywood Pink Shower Gel for $17.99. That did come from an auction, paid about $1 for that. Next item to go to a subscriber named Tina. This was for one of my Kraft Cheese Singles boxes. That sold for $21.99. Eric and I had won at one point a bunch of these at an auction, and then I have been randomly finding them at yard sales for 10 cents to a quarter. Next item was for a pair of Clark's penny style loafers. Those sold on a best offer for $29.99. So it price doesn't match the price that it actually sold for. The next 4 items to give to a subscriber named Claudia. The first thing she purchased was a Sharif wristlet with a matching luggage tag. That sold for $12.99, and that did come from an auction. She also purchased a Hallmark Santas from Around the World ornament of Russia that sold for $19.99. That also came from an auction. Next item was a Waterford mini champagne flute Christmas ornament that sold for $15.99, and that actually came from Goodwill. I think that was either, I feel like it was $1.99. And then she also purchased an Old World style Santa Claus Christmas ornament, blown glass Christmas ornament that sold for $15.99. And I do believe that came from a yard sale where I paid $1 or $2 for it. Next item we have is something that came from one of my Lush subscription boxes. This was for the Gumback Express Shower Smoothie that sold for $22.99. I sold a Jack Daniel's Legends London shot glass for $99.99, and that did come from an auction. Next item was a Bath & Body Works perfume. This was called True Blue Naked. That sold for $49.99, and I feel like that actually came from a yard sale. It did take a long time to sell though. I'd say I paid $2 to $3 for it. Next item was for a CD Laguerre tie bar clip that sold for $5.99, and I feel like it might have come from a fill-a-bag rummage sale is what I'm thinking it came from, but that thing took forever to sell, and it didn't really sell for much, but I didn't really pay much for it either. But yeah, it took forever to sell. Next item was for a set of Waterford crystal toasting flutes. Those sold for $79.99, and Eric and I picked these up at a yard sale. I'm pretty sure we paid $10 for them. I sold a Circa skateboarding shirt for $25.99. That came from a yard sale, and I paid about $1 for it. I also sold a San Diego mesh snapback hat for $19.99. That came from a church sale, and I paid about $1 for that. Next was an Eden. This was a Beatrix Potter little like rattle toy plush of Jeremy Fisher that sold for $12.99, and I feel like that also came from a fill-a-bag rummage sale. And the last thing that I have for this CHING was a pair of jeans by a company called Grain that sold for $14.99, and those also came from a fill-a-bag rummage sale, and those also took a very long time to sell, so I don't think I'd ever pick up that brand again. But that is everything for this CHING. I apologize, guys, this one was a little harder as far as like remembering prices that I paid for stuff. You guys have to let me know if that, like, you know, if you care how much I pay for something, or if it doesn't really necessarily bother you if I don't say, you know, how much I pay for something. I know some people like to know exactly what I pay for something. As far as eBay goes, I feel like I had a lot of sales this weekend, so I definitely feel like there was an uptick in sales, so that's really nice, obviously. But as far as eBay goes, they finally did, if you guys watched that shipping video that Eric and I did, they finally did fix that problem we were having where it wasn't registering our shipping label size correctly, and it was just creating all sorts of problems. I would have to like come upstairs and print out a shipping label on our regular computer printer, and it, you know, it was just a mess basically. They finally fixed that, so thank goodness for that. But then I think they had a glitch just a couple of days ago where it was showing free shipping on stuff, even though it wasn't free shipping. It wasn't like affecting anything, it just showed it you know, in your orders, but obviously, you know, the people, whoever purchased stuff, obviously paid for shipping, but it was showing as free shipping on like our end. but I think that was fixed as well. I don't know if that happened to me, but I did see other people complaining about it on like the eBay Facebook groups. But other than that, I feel like, you know, there's not much that I have to talk about as far as eBay goes. Things have been, you know, just chugging along. I don't really have anything like negative really to talk about, nothing like super positive either. It's just, you know, the same old kind of thing, which is good. You know, I'm just glad I'm not like having any, you know, hardcore issues or anything like that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. You'll have to let me know what you thought down in the comments, how things are going for you and all of that good stuff. So I will see you next time.